guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here. Today we're going to do kind of a special video. We're going to do some on the range, and then we're going to do some in here in the tabletop. But I just wanted to compare two of the guns that you commonly see on YouTube, and that is a stock Glock versus a very custom Glock. Now this is about as custom as a Glock gets, actually. I have put a lot of time, effort, and money into this firearm to get it to what I would call peak performance. And I wanted to compare the performance of this versus the performance of a standard complete Glock. Now the only changes that I have on this Glock at all is just putting the factory backstrap on it because I have large hands. So we're gonna compare the two on time, and then we are gonna do some drills with them and do some accuracy testing, and then we are gonna go inside to the tabletop, and I'm gonna show a little closer look of them and show you some of the upgrades that I did, and if I think they're effective, and if so, how effective they really are, compared to how much money they have to spend. So this is gonna be a really good video for you to watch if you're interested in some Glock upgrades and wanna know how far you should go for the money you're willing to spend. Now, before we get the video started, I want to mention that my Patreon supporters really help my channel out. They're the reason why we keep going, and because of that, we do a monthly giveaway for guns and gear related items. So this month's giveaway is going to be the Magpul PRS stock. We're also doing a giveaway for the Ontario Rat 3 knife on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me there. I also leave a link for a local homeless shelter in the description below. They could really use your assistance as well. The first up is going to be the stock Glock, and we're going to do a 2-2-4-2-2 drill. Now, mind you, I haven't shot yet today and even warmed up or anything, so if I suck, my bad. So we'll do it on the timer and we'll see how the stock Glock does, then we'll do the custom Glock, and what we'll probably do is try to go back and forth, try to give one not so much of an advantage over the other. And another thing that I'm gonna have to overcome during this little test is one has iron sights, so the sighting system sits lower than the other one who has a red dot, which is an advantage, but it's gonna be a different sight picture every single time, so I might be a little slower than I normally am. Only been 3.
Time.
293. 295. So they're the same up close. All right, so now we're here at the plate rack. We got 8 6-inch plates at 15 yards, and we'll run the plate rack with the custom Glock, and then we'll run it with the stock Glock and see how we do. .77. One miss.
Time.
4.25. All right, so now we're gonna do a build drill. We're just gonna go from the low ready. We're gonna put 6 rounds on that 2/3 IPSC target from about 10 yards away. It's kind of a failure drill. Somebody busts in your door. If you got a machete, build drill's a good one for that.
Time.
1.7. All right, so now we'll try it with the ultimate Glock and see how we do. 1.63. A lot less recoil with this though. Doesn't speed me up as much as I thought, but there definitely is a lot less felt recoil. We took the light off because the light kept falling off because I have the wrong mount on it. I have the pick mount on it and not the Glock mount. One disadvantage of Glocks, they don't have a pick rail on them, so it slid off a couple of times. I didn't feel like looking dumb anymore, so I took it off, but it won't change the results any, I promise you. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the home invasion drill. So we're gonna put 2 rounds on target A, 2 rounds on target B, C, and D. So that's 8 rounds for the drill, 4 different targets. Try to get them as fast as you can, and they're separated. We know one coming in the front door, one coming in the back door, that kind of thing. So we'll do that on the timer. 2.6.
Okay.
Same drill, 2 rounds on each target, stock Glock 34. 2.46. So now we'll do the everything drill. I named that. And it's every target. Except for the dueling tree and the 2 bottom ones over there, because I don't have enough ammo. Only have 15 shots. See how it goes.
Time.
One left. 7. 3.13. We're gonna do another everything drill, except this time with the Ultimate Glock without the light. And I brought some extra ammo in case I run out. And we'll see how this goes. We're at 15 yards, by the way. .06, but we did miss one. We're at 50 yards with the Ultimate Glock, and we're gonna put 5 rounds on a target 50 yards away, and we'll see how fast we can do that with the big old compensated Glock. Missed one. 6 even, pretty slow, but I'm trying to search for that red dot. Now we got the stock Glock, same drill, 5 rounds, 50 yards. .25, we had 1 miss as well. So now we're at 80 yards out here, and we have the stock Glock. We're gonna go first with it, and we're gonna put 5 rounds on the same target we did at 50, except this time we're gonna do it 80 yards. And I know it's stretching out quite a bit. It's unrealistic for self-defense, but it does show the accuracy potential of the gun. Wow. Well, 12.48. I just had a little bit of an issue with the stock Glock, and the reason for that being is because we're at 80 yards now, and the box on the back of the rear sight on the stock Glock is actually bigger than the target I'm shooting at. So a white box mixed with a white front post mixed with a white target that's smaller than both makes it fairly hard to hit. I actually think I'm going to do a much better job with the Ultimate Glock here at 75 yards, 80 yards, whatever we're at, because of the red dot. Because the red dot's going to have a good contrast, and it's only 1 point of aim, so it should really excel here at this distance, depending on the shooter, right? So we'll see. .25, significantly faster. So now that we're back from the range, I just want to give you an up-close look at these two pistols that we compared here today, and I want to go over some of the accessories that I have on the Gucci Glock, and I want to talk about some of the prices, the companies that I went with, why I went with them, and if they did any good. And I think you saw in the footage already that they did definitely do some good, especially at distance. This was almost twice as fast at 80 yards. However, up in close, where most engagements happen, especially in self-defense, if we're not talking about competition or looking cool on YouTube, the reality is that the stock Glock did very well. For the most part, you're going to be running into, what, 1 or 2 assailants at most. If you shoot 2 people and the other 2 people are there, they're probably going to run away, especially if you Jerry Mitchell like them. The reality is you're going to have less benefit than you really think you would by spending this much money. However, there is going to be some benefit, and some of these accessories are going to benefit you more than others. So let's get right into the old Gucci Glock here real quick, and we'll talk about some of the things that I've done to it and why. So first thing I want to mention is I did not send this into Agency Arms. I actually purchased this already made from Agency Arms. So this was around $1,700 without some of the upgrades, and it was just a standard Agency Arms Glock 34. And it came with the slide milling, as you see there, to make it lighter. One of the reasons why I went with Agency Arms is because they have some of the lightest slide milling on the market. The reason why you'd go with slide milling, number 1, because it looks real cool. Number 2, because it lowers the weight of the overall package. Believe it or not, with none of this stuff on here, this slide makes this gun about 2.5 ounces lighter than this gun. That may not seem like much, but if you're going to carry it all day, why not carry a Glock 34 with the extended sight radius that's the same weight of a Glock 17? And that's one thing the slide milling does. The other thing it does is it reduces the reciprocating mass of the firearm, so it lowers muzzle flip just a little bit and perceived recoil just a little bit. So the slide milling is a benefit. However, it is one of the most expensive upgrades on this gun. As I said, the Agency Arms package takes the gun from around $600 new all the way up to $1,700. Now they also add their trigger, and they also add their barrel, and they also add their stippling. I have done away with 2 of those. Now I still have the Agency Arms barrel in there. I like Agency Arms barrels. They are my favorite. Another reason is because they look very cool, because if you're not going to run a compensator or you're not going to run a silencer, a barrel, in my personal opinion, is either looks or it's a waste of money. Glock barrels can outshoot 99% of the people that shoot them, unless you're shooting lead bullets. I could see that, but I don't know if they've upgraded to better barrels in the Gen 5. This is actually a Gen 5 sitting right here. But the Marksman barrel is supposedly as good as an aftermarket barrel. I thought they were good to begin with. That's my personal opinion. I don't think that they make it more accurate, but they do make it cooler, and if you want to add a comp or suppressor, a threaded barrel is a nice addition. They also had stippling, as I said, and they had a trigger, but I have changed it to the low-key tactical stippling because, as far as I'm aware currently, I haven't had all the stippling in the world, but this stippling is fantastic. One of the best I've ever tried. The bigger holes make it more aggressive longer, so it makes your stipple job last a lot longer, and stippling lasts obviously longer than Talon grips, but texture of any kind is a big benefit, because if you want to hold on to the gun when you're muddy or bloody or hot during a match or whatever it may be, it's easier to hold on to it with texture, and it also allows you to shoot a little bit quicker because you can vise that gun down in your hands. Another thing I really like is the Agency Arms gas pedal cut. Other companies do that as well. You can even do that yourself if you want. I have a video on that, and that helps me press and drive the gun forward. Some people say do that, some people say don't. Right here is a Glock store extended magazine release. For competition guns, is really nice because I can reach it and depress it without breaking my grip at all. Saves me a little bit of time on the reload, so that's really nice. The Agency Arms does a really good job with their undercut on their trigger guard, which I really like as well. If you have big knuckles like I do, that Glock hump can be very uncomfortable, but again, that's another thing you can do yourself for free if you have a Dremel. This is a Surefire X300 Ultra, one of my favorite weapon lights. However, I usually run it on AR-15s. I actually have two of these, and both of them are on AR-15s. I popped it off there and put it on here for the video. There was an Inforce APLC, but I figured it looked a little small now that I had the comp and everything on there, so I put the X300 on there. Problem was, during testing, I forgot that it actually has different tabs in here, and the pick row works with my M&Ps and CZs and everything, so I'm so used to just switching off my AR-15, putting it on. However, Glock decides they want to have their own little thing, so when I'm shooting, the damn thing falls off. But the X300 is a phenomenal light, around $300, and of all the upgrades here, I'm going to tell you right away, the light is by far the most important. If you're going to have a defensive gun, you need to have a light so you don't accidentally shoot some child or your drunk uncle falling through your door or whatever. You really need to have target acquisition. You need to make sure that person's a threat before you fire, and even at night when you're doing training, you'll find that a high quality light makes you look cooler while you're shooting at night. Compensator is an art comp. Out of all the comps I've tried, this is my personal favorite. I'm not saying it's the best in the market, but it is definitely the best I have tried. It is very light, very small, and very effective for what it does. Lowers muzzle flip a little bit, lowers recoil a great deal. You will have to change your recoil spring with it. I'm running a 13-pound recoil spring in here right now, and that way you don't lose any reliability, because the comp will slow the cycle of your slide down a little bit, and you might have some problems if you don't lighten the spring. Does it really help you in a self-defense situation? Most likely not. However, what it would do is potentially help you in a competition setting, or it would help a newer shooter get used to recoil of a firearm, and you could work them into the comp, and then you could work them into the actual gun. Personally, my wife likes shooting this gun because of that compensator. I have Dawson Precision sights on here. It came with raised Trijicon sights. Now, I really like those, but I'm actually in the boat of I like lower sights. I recommend raised sights with a red dot because red dots can be unreliable, and it actually makes finding the red dot easier when you're starting to shoot out. But if you have a lot of repetitions on a red dot, and if you have a lot of time on your hands like I do to practice, I prefer the uncluttered sight picture of the red dot there. The only problem is sometimes when I'm switching back and forth like I was during the testing, I would lose my point of aim, and I would have to search for it just a little bit. The Dawson Precision sights are my personal favorite because they make a phenomenal selection of fiber optic sights. Fiber optic sight with a blacked out rear is my personal favorite, and Dawson Precision has the best customer service on the market. You can call them and ask them any question you like and they will answer it, even products they don't have. They're very impressive. I learned a long time ago Dawson Precision was the way to go for sights. I have an RMR Type 2 on here. This is the adjustable version. I like that because if I'm carrying this, it'll adjust by itself. Now, it won't adjust super quickly, but also you can even see that even though these aren't raised sights, I can see my sights through the red dot and make a shot if I need to. Plus, I have so many repetitions on firearms that if you're within 50 yards, I can hit you without sights. Not a big deal for me, might be a big deal for you. The red dot actually helps a great deal at distance, and it helps a great deal for people with aging eyes. That is a big deal. I know my dad ran a red dot on a shotgun like 20 years ago, and I was like, what are you doing, old man? And it's because he couldn't see the sights very well, and today that same fad has reached pistols, and I totally agree with it. If you can no longer see iron sights very well, by all means buy a red dot. Also remember though, there's a lot of pros and cons of the red dot. They're expensive. This is $500 to $600 because it is a quality red dot, and I would suggest Trijicon RMRs over anything else that I've tried because they are durable. The problem with red dots is they're not iron sights. They will break, they will fog when you don't want them to, they'll get dirt and rain inside them, and they will obscure your entire sight picture, and there's no QD mount on here like there's on an AR. So if this thing gets all messed up, your co-witnessing iron sights aren't going to do that much good. You're not going to have an Allen wrench on you to rip this off when you need to. So that's a real problem. You can shoot off the V, and that V is there to make this Trijicon more reliable, but it also is a good aid in case you need an emergency sighting system. But the reality is that these, from my personal opinion, yet are untrustworthy. However, I do believe they are the future of sighting systems. I think red dots, once they become as reliable and durable like aim points are in rifles, they will be the future of pistol sights. I'm running an Apex trigger in this because I like it. I like it better than the Agency Arms, just the feel of it. I have really big hands, which is why I have the big backstrap on there, and I have a long trigger reach. So I like the I like the Apex trigger because it reaches out just a little bit further, and it's got a very short pull with a very fast reset. Now I'm big on reset. I don't really like light triggers, but I like a strong, fast reset because I shoot real fast, and sometimes I can actually outshoot guns. And do I like it enough to recommend it personally? I don't know. I actually am going with Johnny Glock triggers these days. He's a dude that makes custom OEM triggers, and so far those are phenomenal. I'm going to be putting one of those in my Gen 5 and seeing how that goes. Now, I also have a Dawson Precision mag on here. One of the reasons why I really like that over a lot of other stuff, again, the big hands, see the big backstrap. Dawson Precision offers different size mag wells for different size backstraps. Also, it is really durable, and it has an internal sleeve in here, so if you bang this up and screw this all up, you can pop this out and buy a new one for like 10 bucks, put it in. Also, unlike most guns, it actually bevels fairly well, although I would suggest if you're going to do a dedicated mag well, maybe take a piece of sandpaper and go in there and get those loose pieces of plastic that Glock decided to leave there. Now, I did say this total gun is worth $3,000. Now, that is a stupid amount of money to pay, and the reason why I paid it is because I'm a gun reviewer, and you can't be a gun reviewer on YouTube without a Gucci Glock. So I needed a Gucci Glock. I needed to feel the experience totally to try to figure out if it really was worth it or not. Basically, spend money so I can save you money. The light, 100% worth it. I would suggest that over everything else. It would be my #1 upgrade. The second upgrade I would recommend, that would be my mandatory upgrade, would be a sight upgrade. Now, you can do tritium sights, but the only real advantage I've seen to tritium sights is that you can find them on the nightstand. Honestly, fiber optic sights with a good weapon light will illuminate all the same. Super easy. Even with a handheld light, you can illuminate your sights and make that shot. So tritium sights is, if you want them or don't, it's up to you. Downside to fiber optic sights, though, is that they are more fragile. If you shoot enough with fiber optic sights, you will break that fiber optic rod, so make sure that you keep those extras they give you in the package. The third upgrade that I would do is some sort of texture. Now, the Glock Gen 4, Gen 5 texture is really okay. You know, you could definitely run it, but for me, I like to have extra texture because sweaty, muddy, bloody, whatever it may be, I like to hold the gun in my hand and keep it there while it's under use. So I like that a lot. Stippling is the way to go if you want long-term, like a WROL shit at the fan type gun. If you're going competition gun or home defense gun, Talon grips are $15 on eBay. That's what I would recommend. That's what I run most of the time, and they'll give you better texture than stippling, but it will not last near as long, and it won't look as cool. The last mandatory upgrade I would really suggest would be a trigger undercut. If you haven't tried it, you got to go out there and try it. It really feels great. It's free if you have a Dremel and you have a little bit of skill. I've done it on plenty of guns. Again, if you look up my top 5 Glock upgrades under $100, I actually have a little demo in there that I show you that I do it myself with no problem. And it will relieve a lot of that Glock knuckle if you shoot a bunch. Most people feel that, and you get a big buildup here like I do, and you look gross, and then girls don't like you. The last thing you might want to consider that I know a lot of people don't talk about because it's not very Gucci is extended takedown levers. Now, I've done a lot of gauntlet testing on this channel, like mud and sand and all that shit, and if you drop your gun in a creek and you think you're going to take it apart with these takedown levers, you're wrong. If you get anything under there, they're extremely difficult. That's why I really like the M&P throw lever, and some other guns have that as well, because you can really wrench on that thing. This is very hard to pull down if you got a bunch of stuff in it. So maybe think about extended takedown levers. Other than that, I've listed the pros and cons of some of this stuff, but the reality is most of this is just for looks, just for cool factor. If you're not trying to get seconds off the clock, slide milling, comp, all that stuff, really not gonna help you that much. Downside of comp for home defense is it does make the gun louder indoors. So that's one thing you have to be careful of. One thing you have to be careful of with the competition triggers is if you go too light, you'll definitely make the gun unreliable. And that's another thing to consider. If you pick all of your upgrades carefully, you will keep the reliability of the firearm, the overall reliability of the firearm. However, if you don't, you will ruin your gun. You absolutely will. You'll have light primer strikes. If you use like the Zev competition set like I have in here, originally with the lower powered striker and all that stuff, you run hard primers. They're gonna light primer strike. You're not gonna have rounds go off. Sometimes you'll get too light of a trigger and you'll have NDs and all kinds of other stuff. If you run an extended mag release, a lot of times under stress you'll accidentally hit that and you'll be trying to fire at the bad guy and you only have one round. And if you have the round chamber, you might not have any rounds at all. Like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with all these Gucci stuff. You know, if you have an RMR in your gun and you think that it's gonna be great for making 100-yard shots, the likelihood of you doing that is so unlikely that I almost don't think it's worth it for a defensive gun unless you have aging eyes. Like I said, if you have the RMR and holster, who knows what brightness setting it's going to be on, and you might pull it out and it might be too bright to see the target, or it might be too dim to make the shot. So backup iron sights are a must. Comp is only if you really want to shoot it and you want to, you know, have a little bit more longevity with your shooting. Like I said previously, a light's an absolute must. Slide millings for looks, a barrel's for looks, a trigger's it's really up to you whether you shoot. Mag release, up to you. Most of this stuff is really up to you. Even a mag well, as simple as this seems, really is extra weight, it's extra money, it adds a little bit of time on your reloads, but it also can make you worse at reloads, because if you get used to a mag well and try to load a regular gun, you might not always be shooting with your gun, remember. If you get used to shooting with a mag well or reloading with a mag well, it might make you worse, and it adds bulk, so there's no way you're going to be carrying this gun, because that's going to be digging into your stomach. So all of these have pros and cons for me personally, except for the sight change, traction, light. That's one thing that I want to say, and that's one thing I want to consider. So is the price worth it? It makes it more accurate, it makes it faster, it makes it as reliable if you choose correctly. However, you can also mess it up. So you pick your accessories carefully and choose how you spend your money wisely, because you may buy a bunch of stuff that you don't need or don't even want. If you're not shooting on a timer all day long, half the stuff is not for you. That's just the reality. And honestly, this gun probably looks a lot worse in a courtroom when they're holding it up than this gun does. That's another thing you should consider as well. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you that if I can shoot 1/10 of a second slower with this gun, and I know it's going to be reliable, and I know some bad guys are breaking into my house, I'm picking this. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.